anti-Semitism is not new. We have unfortunately witnessed a recent and concerning rise in anti-Semitic attitudes and actions from the left. Why? Because of the emergence and dominion of what many call woke ideology. How does wokeism, an ideology which purportedly calls for diversity, equity, and inclusion, fan the flames of anti-Semitism? It's not complicated once you truly understand the foundations of wokeism. The idea of being woke comes originally from the 1960s civil rights movement. Recently, it has come to describe anyone who has or is marked by an active awareness of systemic injustices and prejudices, especially those involving the treatment of ethnic, racial, or sexual minorities. Woke ideology is supported by 3 pillars of belief. First, that bias exists in systems. Second, that lived experience is the primary basis for assessing the truth of a situation. Third, that if someone claims something is offensive, it must be avoided, even if it is true or helpful. The first pillar of the social justice concept asserts that any disparities among different groups are explained by discrimination and systemic bias. As a result, successful groups are considered oppressors, and less successful groups as oppressed victims. Unfortunately, this labeling has led to unfair vilification of successful groups, including Jews. The oppressor versus oppressed binary often simplifies complex issues as white and bad versus brown and good, painting anyone seen as white as the villain victimizing brown people. This labeling system not only categorizes Jews as oppressors, but also treats Israel as white and Palestinians as brown. This dichotomy portrays Israel as the perennial oppressor and Palestinians as the oppressed. This distorted view of power is prevalent throughout the ideology, where an idea expressed by someone considered an oppressor is often dismissed if it conflicts with the personal experience of a member of an oppressed class. Jews, viewed as part of the oppressor class, may be labeled as privileged for merely highlighting anti-Semitism, shifting the focus away from other oppressed groups. The obligation to avoid speech perceived as harmful or offensive to marginalized groups can lead to the shutting down of free speech and breeds resentment. Limiting speech creates an illiberal atmosphere, and Jews have historically suffered in closed-minded societies. A thriving democracy depends on open and honest communication. The dangerous increase in anti-Semitism due to woke ideology can already be seen in shifting attitudes towards Jews and Israel amongst Americans. We can see there is a clear connection between the rise of wokeism and the increase in anti-Semitism. And while there are many ways to combat the world's oldest hatred, the first steps are to recognize the problem and understand it. It's time we take the first steps.